Hello again, everyone. Jake Schwartzberg back at you. It is August 4th, 8:40 p.m. Hope this finds all of you well. Thank you for taking the time to drop in and listen to my nonsense. And trust me, today I'm sure will be nonsense. I hope that this podcast starts to become something meaningful, not just a place for me to dump. But for right now, I'm just going to keep dumping. And I'm going to use today's podcast to explain why I retired as a high school math teacher. Uh, the quick and dirty is for the last 28 years, I've been teaching high school mathematics. I started in Tucson, Arizona, where I did it for 5 years, then 1 year in Texas, and the last 22 here in California. Um, I wasn't planning on only going 28. I was planning on going, you know, the Charlton Heston line. When you can take this chalk from my cold dead hands. That's when I was going to retire as a teacher. Uh, but I'd like to share with you the variety of reasons that I'm shutting it down. Number one, I'm not the healthiest guy anymore. I have no one to blame but myself. I have a heart and I have lungs, and they're surprisingly good. Uh, my problem is my arteries. It's a little bit genetic, but mostly behavioral. It's the years of fried chicken and burgers and Coca-Cola and smoking. My arteries are filling a little bit with plaque. So what they do is they go in, they snake this hose in you, and they pry your arteries open in certain places. It's called a stent, and I've got a couple of stents placed already, and they work wonders. And then I develop other areas or where the arteries are closing, and I just can't get enough blood to my extremities. And when I'm sitting here just talking, I'm fine. I can go. But the simple act of standing up and moving around, my heart gets going a little bit, and I can't get enough. I can't. I don't know the process. I just can't breathe as well um, when I'm active, and I can't do my job the way I used to be able to do my job. And I think one of my secrets to success was my enthusiasm, my energy, I'm bounding around. I'm I'm trying to keep kids' attention when I'm trying to talk about logarithms or the derivative or integration. And these subjects can be a little dry. And I've tried my best my whole career to be enthusiastic and to model energy. And I can't do it as well as I used to. I could keep going. It's not just tough. I could teach for a while at the board, then I could sit down and do an overhead projector piece, then I could teach. I could pull it off. Health is only one of the pieces of the puzzle. The second piece is my district, and I've been talking for years about my actions mirroring my beliefs. And my district is, in my opinion, going in the wrong direction on a number of issues. Number one, we've instituted and adopted gender pronouns where kids get to and teachers have to, and that's a small thing, to be honest. I'll call you whatever you want to be called. I don't know that we serve a kid for feeding into his or her uh, uh, probably mental problems, but I don't know enough to know enough. So gender pronouns and critical race theory, which we're calling cultural literacy, I have a huge problem with. Everything I've read is a train wreck. It's up to 32 states have banned the teaching of critical race theory, yet the California Teachers Association demands the teaching of it. They're saying we won't teach unless this is part of our curriculum. It's an unbelievable turn of events. And I'm not a party to it, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to be a part of a system that's doing something I wildly don't believe in. So that's the district piece of it. There's also a school piece of it, and this is again a small piece. But we teach on the block schedule at Dana Hills. And that means we've got kids in classes now. We only teach 3 classes a day. Mondays are traditional. We teach 1 through 6. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we teach 1 through 5. And then Wednesdays and Fridays, we teach 2, 4, and 6. So we only teach 3 classes a day. And those classes are almost 2 hours. I'm going to say that again. Those classes are almost 2 hours. We're putting kids in classes for nearly 2 hours. Now, I'm a reasonably good student. And during the pandemic, I had to go and watch. I didn't have to. I chose to watch a couple webinars. After about 10 minutes, I wanted to beat my head against the desk. We're putting kids in classes for 2 hours. The best comedians in the world do at most 1 hour sets because they know that's about how long you can command someone's attention. The best comedians in the world with pre-rehearsed game. I'm not the best comedian in the world. We are not. We're teachers. And we're trying to command their attention for 2 hours at a time. The best in the world know you can't do it better than for more than an hour. And we put these kids in classes for nearly 2. There's no good reason for it. You can't find any research out there on the benefits of block scheduling since we went away from traditional. People my age found a way to be successful going to 6 classes a day. We just did. The heartbreak is how block scheduling started. It started because in some inner cities, principals wanted to eliminate passing periods, as many as possible, because that's when they were having some gang violence in the hallways. So block scheduling really makes sense. If kids only are passing period twice during the day, as opposed to 5 times during the day, that makes good sense to me. It was a pretty good plan, and it works. There's fewer passing periods during the day. But there's no educational benefit. First of all, we actually teach less material. Now, the only science behind this thing is a phenomenon called spacing. And spacing clearly shows us scientifically, we have evidence that a student will retain more if he's given 2 one-hour lectures as opposed to 1 2-hour lecture. We know this definitively. We have this is scientifically kind of proven through experiment over and over again. But we diminish that. We're really not about the science. We're about what we want. And right now, schools won't go away from block scheduling because I think it's a little bit easier. I think it's a little easier for teachers. We don't have to plan as much. We only have to plan for, 3 classes a day, as opposed to having to go home and plan for 6 periods or 5 periods a day. I think we're doing block scheduling because of its convenience, not because of its I was going to say efficacy, but I don't even know that word so well. I'm not a fan of block scheduling. I think it is mistreating students to put these kids, sometimes 14 to freshmen, 2 hours a day in a class. You come sit in my class for 2 hours. See if you can get through a lecture on logarithms. And I can vary my, there's a lot of techniques that teachers talk about, like vary activities and build in breaks and, stand up and walk. You can spin on your head. At the end of the day, it's 2 hours. Science departments love it. They demand it because of labs. But if you really drill down, they're not doing labs every day. They're doing labs maybe 1 a week. I don't think they're even doing that. And because of that, it is now, that's the big justification of block scheduling. I'm a math teacher. And kids should be in math class every day for an hour. They should learn math every day for an hour. If you really want to bring back mathematics proficiency in America, please, someone hear me and bring back traditional scheduling. Well, I don't care what you do with all the other art maybe wants longer period, PE needs longer period, science, I don't know. Math needs to see kids every day for a small burst, 45 to 50 minutes. I promise you, you'll get better results of this 2 hours at a time nonsense. Uh, uh, when we know the attention span is 7 or 8 minutes of these kids and getting smaller with TikTok videos and YouTube's. I read a survey, not a survey, I read a study that said that a kid goes, I don't know if it was a kid, in a study of YouTube viewers, more than half won't watch a 10-second ad to get to the video they want to watch. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. They said, no, I just clicked away. The attention spans are shrinking and we've got kids in class for 2 hours at a time. That's one of the pieces. I just, it's been gnawing at my soul for years. I've been banging on this drum over and over. That's one of the reasons I'm walking away is I don't believe in it anymore. So I talked about my health. I talked about the district. I talked about my school. I'm going to talk about financially a little bit. I can afford to, I think, retire, depending on how long I'm planning on living. And I don't think I'm going to go more than about 10. I'm hoping for 10. Know this about my retirement. My union, I pay into my retirement. It's about 10% per check. And I've done some rough calculations starting in California, and that's where the retirement's coming from. You know, I bet I started making about 60 grand a year and finished making about a hundo. And obviously the middle of that is 80. And if they're taking 10% a month, I've done some rough calculations. If you crunch that over 22 years and blah, 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 it's well over $200,000. So I've paid $200,000 into my retirement. What could I have done with that 200,000 as far as investments? Could I have turned it into, I don't know. But it feels like it feels, and this is going to be weird. And this feels like somebody's going to read this and go, what a freaking taker. Maybe I am. It feels like I've earned the money and I want to utilize it. One of my best friends, Oz Simmons, taught for 36 years and died in his first year of retirement. And while I think about Oz every day, I think about the finances of Oz every now and again. And it just kind of, this guy, 38 years, he paid into retirement and didn't reap any of the benefit of it. You know, I'd like to reap some of the benefit of what I paid in. I'm not asking for anyone else's money, unless I live for more than about 6-7 years. Then I'm going to run out of my retirement money, and that's when the community kicks in my district and the state and I'm if I live more than 5, 6, 7 years and that 200 and some odd thousand contribution is used up and I start using more, well, let me be the first to say thank you, taxpayers, for believing that what I do is important enough to look out for me after years of service. And all I'll say is I walked a pretty good walk. I did a pretty good job. I think I educated kids to a pretty reasonable level. I walk away with my head held high. But that's the financial piece of it. First of all, I can afford it. Second of all, because I've saved. Second of all, and I know it sounds sketchy, and I probably didn't explain it well. I feel like I've earned some of that retirement, and I want to utilize. I don't know. I'm doing a poor job of explaining that one. Lastly, and this is going to be, it's going to feel the harshest. I don't love this generation of kids the way I've loved generations of kids in the past. I loved bouncing out of bed. Just so I could get a chance to get to school and start teaching and build those connections and enjoy these. I don't enjoy them as much as I used to. It's a different generation of children in my classroom. This generation is a little snowflakier. It's a little more easily offended. It's a little bit more wanting to be victimized. It's a little bit more, haha, got you. It's a little bit less hardworking. It's a little bit less respectful. And I know I'm speaking in broad terms, and that's not fair, because when you really talk, when you can peel some kids out individually, most of them are really pretty good kids. And I'm going to do a blog post on how we got here, and I've got a good feeling for how I can draw a straight line from children being born and being immediately placed in the center of the family, like my kid is my life, as opposed to the generation of children should be seen and not heard. I want to take a straight line and show you how we got from kids at the center of the family to where I think we are right now. With this generation of kids. And I don't blame the kids, not one bit. I think it's the worst generation of parenting I've ever seen. I've got 30 years of watching parents. It's the worst I've ever seen. I've never seen so many parents lie blatantly, look you right in the eye, just so their kid doesn't have to serve a tiny little consequence. What does the kid learn there? There are no consequences, that lying is good. And all of us, I'll save that for another blog post, to do teaching well, to be a great teacher. You gotta love kids a little bit. And I'm losing the love a little bit. I don't want to go in most days. I'm feeling I had a bad year last year. Got snake bit a couple of times, made a couple of jokes in class, really a little bit funny jokes that were not offensive to anyone. Yet I got reported because that's what you do. You just claim to be a victim because that's, I don't know what this generation thinks. It just, and maybe it's mostly in my head. And if that's the case, my apologies. But first of all, it isn't. And it's smart for me to walk away right now. I'm a dinosaur in this profession. Maybe it's a younger man's game right now. Those are the reasons that lining them all up. Disappointing with my district. I don't like teaching on a block schedule. Financially, I can afford it. My health doesn't. And this generation of kids, if you add it all up, you end up with I'm no longer a high school math teacher. Everyone's asking me, what's next? What are you going to do next, Jake? And the answer is, do I have to do anything? Can't I just, sit around and watch porn? It was a little bit of a joke. I don't know. I'll play a little bit of golf. I've got a great car. I still like to drive, so I'll drive a little bit. I'll read trash fiction. Currently, I'm trying to finish the Lee Child, Jack Reacher series of books. I don't know. Ride my electric bike, walk every now and again. If I need to do something, I'll do something. If I need to do some tutoring, I'll do some tutoring. I don't know. I'm not going to go to barber school, if that's your question. I'm not going to go out and try to become a hairstylist I know I will become a chef. Nah, I don't want to do anything right now. Just want to be. I don't know even what that means. Thank you so much for your time listening to this nonsense. Hope this helped you get through the dishes or washing your car. I hope you had this on in the background. Thank you very much for your time. Jake Schwartzberg out.